we will be talking about Appium's architecture, not specifically 3, because nothing has changed from 2 to 3 from an architecture point of view. And at the same time, we will be running you through what's in 3. Do you need to really worry about migrating from 2 to 3? And what are the key things that you need to look through when you are migrating from 2 to 3? And of course, we'll also see some gesture APIs, how you can build and understand, very importantly, how these gestures can be built using W3C actions and things, right? So let's understand how Appium works under the hood, right? And one thing that probably we want to highlight over here is architecturally nothing has changed from Appium 2 to 3, so the architecture still remains the same. But I think it's a good start for us today to understand how Appium under the hood works, so that possibly some of you might be knowing, maybe someone's very new to it and you want to understand how the flow goes between your code and your device, and also about drivers and plugins and stuff, right? So there are key important things in Appium over here as of today. One is a driver concept and a plugin concept. Okay, so we'll deep dive into what is a driver and what is a plugin concept over here. So the code, what you see over here, so basically these are your clients, right? So basically, what are your clients? Your clients are nothing but your test automation code, which we tend to write mostly like driver.find element by ID, by XPath, and whatnot, right? So that's basically what we're trying to do here. That's your client. Now, when you write your client code and you basically start your Appium server, okay, that's this guy is Appium server. So Appium server is basically a very lightweight server built on Express, which is in Node.js. So it's a server. So you could start your server like any other server, right? And the communication between your client and your device is basically, since it's a client server architecture, so all your calls are being made through HTTP and things like that, right? So every command that you do, like a driver.find element or creating a session, everything comes into the Appium server. Then Appium server knows, based on the capabilities, whether it's an Android or an iOS. Based on that, it will load the respective drivers, and then the drivers will basically send all those commands what you do into a server which is running inside your device. So basically, there's a very tiny server which sits inside your Android or iOS devices. So in the Android world, we have 2 drivers. One is the Espresso driver, one is a UI automated driver. In the iOS world, we have one driver which is called the Appium 𝐸𝐲. Okay, that's a server that sits inside your device. So as and when there is a request which flows similar from your code over here, it goes to the driver. Then driver sends that code inside this. If it's a find element call, it basically traverses all the way. And then once the element has been found by the server which is running inside your device, it would basically give you the response out as 200, and the 200 will fall back. And that's how you get one successful run of your entire command execution, right? Let's say the element is not found, or whatnot, it caused tail element exceptions and things like that. All those will be taken care by the server itself. So it's going to return you a 404 or respective status codes, and your client is basically going to retrieve that from the server. And that's how, typically, if anything is failing, you'll see element not found exception and things like that, right? So this is like a very straightforward flow when you don't have any plugins and you just have the respective drivers. Now, in Appium, in the current Appium world, so these drivers are basically very independent, right? They don't sit with your Appium server. So you can build your own driver and you can install them as well. So Srini, any examples that you can give over here in the recent times where you thought, hey, if I could build something very unique as a driver, I can automate this? Anything?
Maybe for any specific use cases that we can talk about, like we may have vision-OS. So we can have vision-OS driver, for example, that can deal only about vision-OS from Apple. So we already have Appium's 𝐸𝐲 driver. So probably, let's say, Vision is using different protocol or different capabilities under the hood. So we can come up with something like a vision-OS driver,
and that can interact with the vision OS. Vision OS makes sense. Okay. So now comes the very interesting part of plugins. So basically, plugins are nothing but, so that's it here, right? So plugins can basically do two things, right? Consider plugin like a Lego blocks for us. So you have multiple pieces, you can put them together, and something very nicely comes into play. So plugins can basically do two things. It can either override the entire function from Appium, meaning that let's say if it's a find element, the entire find element logic is sitting within Appium today, right? Respective drivers in this case. So let's say that you have an amazing way to find that element now. Probably you're using some AI capabilities to find that element, right? So you could still keep your client code to say driver.find element, whatever, right? And when this plugin that you are building will intercept that request of find element, and it will tell, hey, you know what? I can do this find element better than you, and I will take this responsibility. So in that case, whenever a plugin is sort of enabled, when the Appium server is started, so the request would basically come here, and the server knows that, oh, okay, I have a plugin which is registered and it can take care of driver.find element, and it will come to the plugin, and the plugin will do the find element logic for us now because you are overriding it completely, right? And then the plugin takes care of the entire finding of the element and things like that, and it would basically return the response back to the server, and the server will return back to the client. It will not even go to the driver and things, right? Of course, if it had to interact with uh, the device, there has to be some way that it can do so. Of course, it will go back and then come, right? So it just takes this route for you now. And at the same time, so this is like you're overriding it, right? So let's say now there could be also other cases where basically you want the find element logic of Appium, but at the same time, you basically want to put some logging into your system. Let's say you will tell Appium that, hey, you know what? I don't know how, I think you are the best person to do the find element logic here. But at the same time, I also want some logging mechanism within it, where so that I can track certain aspects and a few, probably how long it's taking to find an element and things like that, right? So in those cases, what would happen is the request would basically come to the server will go to the plugin, okay? And once plugin does the job of capturing the logs, it will send the request back to the driver for finding the element, yes. And then the driver will do its job of sending it to the server, and basically the server is going to do this. It's going to come back to the plugin, and then the plugin will go back to the server, and the server will send the response back to the client. So that's exactly how it can overload and override functions inside the plugin. So I'm going to give a pause now, and we're going to look into the chat if there's any questions that you have around this area, or you think if we have to explain it again, we are happy to do that.
Okay, there is a question on does the architecture also apply to the new BiDi protocol?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. We do have BiDi in Appium, but it's very limited, right? Where do we have BiDi? We have BiDis like you can capture logs, right? And some aspects of that. I know who asked this question. Gerard. Okay. Can I give a very good scenario or an example around this BiDi where a BiDi can get connected to the plugin?
Yeah, so let's say we have ADB logs.
Yeah.
It's getting streamed every second or so. As soon as you perform something, we start getting ADB logs, and you wanted to monitor the ADB logs in real time. So that's when it could be a BiDi. And I believe we already have a couple of commands in Appium, which is in BiDi.
Yeah.
And it was quite easier in Selenium's world because the drivers which is coming from the vendors is already BiDi compliant. Are getting compliant, right? So it is easy for in the Selenium or in the web to adopt those drivers. But these drivers that we are making here in Appium's ecosystem is completely owned by Appium. Appium maintainers.
Yeah,
basically.
absolutely.
So and again, there is a lot of work if we have to do everything by day, but we are trying to make it compliant for wherever that is needed. For example, in terms of monitoring crash logs through ADB logs. So that's one place where we could do bi-directional requests and monitor those.
Yeah. I can also think of one more aspect, Srini, here, right? So I'll put this question to the group here. How many of you would have seen, if you're using mobile application or mobile testing, how many of you would have come across this problem where you are testing your application and suddenly there's a random pop-up coming up, mostly like a system pop-up which says your battery is low, or probably like a system update, or maybe a location permission, or maybe some ads. How many of you have seen these kind of pop-ups coming up in your testing? Anyone has come across this kind of scenario? Suddenly a pop-up comes in during a test execution and your test execution fails, right? Yeah, you have seen this, right? So what we can do is we can actually build a plugin in this space
Yes.
where this can have BiDi enabled, where you always listen to certain events where on your app side to say that, oh, okay, I can see a pop-up now, I can see certain kind of pop-up, and because it's bi-directional, you basically subscribe to it, that plugin, right? And immediately when there's a pop-up in your application, the plugin will tell your client saying, hey, you know what, I found a pop-up, and then you can interact with that pop-up. Basically you can do whatever you want based on the type of pop-ups on how you are building the plugin. I think I can think of a very good example when it comes to BiDi in those angles and connect it to the plugin actually. Right. Okay, cool.
So in a nutshell, Appium server here is just an orchestrator, which is completely running on your Mac or Windows or Linux host. The complete responsibility is the drivers and also the server which is running inside the mobile devices.
Yeah.
So which takes care of performing all the instructions that is coming out from the client.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions? We'll just give a pause.
Feel free to share us.
Yeah. And if you want us to like quickly.
And typically there is no change from the architectural side from Appium 2 and Appium 3. So the architecture hasn't changed.
Yeah. Anything on the Q&A stream?
No, there is. What is the most useful new feature in Appium 3 that testers should focus on first?
We'll come to that. We'll come to that, and we will do that as well.
With the new modular architecture, what is the performance impact of loading multiple drivers and plugins?
I mean,
so while loading multiple drivers and plugins, let's say we have someone has installed all the drivers in their machine and all the plugins you have, right? For example, just for an example, right? And as the user, I wanted to use probably not all the drivers at a time and not all the plugins at the same time, right? So you can always activate certain drivers and certain plugins, which eventually will load during the session start. I mean, during when you are starting the Appium server.
Yeah.
So while starting Appium server, you can actually request how many ever servers being, drivers being installed. We are not going to use every driver at the same time. So it is important. And that is one of the reason why it has been segregated from Appium's 1 architecture, wherein you install Appium 1, everything comes and sits in your machine. And for example, I have never used something called Cylindroid driver.
Yeah.
Although I've been using Appium for the last 10 years, I've never used something called Cylindroid driver. But when you install Appium 1, it comes and sits along with your Android driver. So that's the reason why it has been moved to modular ecosystem where people can install what they exactly need for that purpose.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, do we want to jump into Appium 3 and what's new and stuff like that?
Exactly. So as we know that now Appium 2 and Appium 3 has followed the same architecture, which is modular and also super flexible in terms of someone building a plugin on their own. And when we have released Appium 2, there are quite a lot of commands that were not compliant with respect to WebDriver spec. So that's one area that Appium 3 has focused upon. And I remember Appium 2 was supporting Node 14 or so, because quite a lot of our users were using 14 at that moment in time, although it has been not even in the LTS stage during the course of time when Appium 2 was released. And I believe Appium 2 beta was in a very long period of time. I think almost 2 years. I remember we have 20 plus versions on beta. Then
48.
We had 2 versions. 2 years we have been maintaining beta and then came out. And in Appium 3, we have minimum version of Node to Node 20.19, I believe. We'll see the version in
when we are
doing the code. And we are going to use, we have upgraded the minimum supported version of Node to Node 20, and TypeScript upgrade has also happened under the hood, and the Express Server version that we were using behind the scenes for all these API requests that Sai was talking about in the Appium architecture, client server architecture, has also got an upgrade in terms of version. But what does it mean to me as a user? Nothing. But when it comes to node version, definitely yes. I think if your system CA is in CA or in your local is using 14, 15, 16, whatever was there for Appium 2 is not no longer going to work. So we need to have a minimum version, which is 20.19.x. So we will show the version as well. And there are some movements in terms of some enhancements are making it more readable in terms of the driver flags. For example, I believe many of you have executed ADB shell commands, right? So how we have used those ADB shell commands is through starting an Appium server with a certain flag. So there are a lot of Appium server flags that exist. How we are going to use that flag, I mean, the naming conventions has changed a bit. We will see that. That's also a smaller change, nothing major in terms of for users. So far the major version is basically the node upgrade. You have to go ahead and upgrade these in your CAs and in your local. And there are a bunch of deprecated commands which was marked deprecated in Appium 2 for quite some time, at least for several years. So all of those has been removed, and alternative commands were also been, I mean, also been documented, and we have a detailed documentation in terms of migration guide from someone who is using Appium 2 compared to, I mean, Appium 2 to 3. So what is something that you need to be worried about? We will see that in detail in next. And inspector. I think it is one of the common problem that people have been facing for quite some time when it comes to Appium 2. Let's say I'm in a insurance domain, or I'm in a secured constraint environment wherein I can't install an Appium inspector, which is not from my Apple Store, right? So let's say we have in constraint environment, then we have to go ahead, a lot of security approvals, quite a lot. So now in Appium 3, it is moved from just a desktop package to a plugin. So we can install Appium as a plugin. So that's also a wonderful, I mean, in terms of user experience, should be really well and good. Yeah, we will also see how does it looks like. Yeah. So as I was talking about dependency upgrade, Appium 2, okay, it is 14.17 that we were supporting. And although it was outdated at that moment in time when we have released it, I believe quite a lot of our users will be in 18, 19 or so quite recently. So hopefully it is not a major shift for all of us. So Node 20 plus, which is 20.9.0, and NPM 10.0, which has to be greater than NPM 10.0, right? So we dropped all the support for Node 20, I mean less than 20.9.0. So that's one of the major upgrade. But technically, if I have a script, will it work from Node 18? Will it work in Node 20? Something that you don't need to worry about. Any changes in the Appium commands, we are going to look at. Is there anything that I need to be worried about? We are going to look at it in the upcoming slides. Yeah. Cool. Feature flag prefix. Maybe we can go ahead and install Appium 3.
Yeah.
Yep.
Meanwhile, do we have
So if
any?
you are using Appium 2 and if you are in node version less than 20.19.0, so you can parallelly look into if you have a using bandwidth, feel free to upgrade node version. If you are using NVM, node version manager, feel free to upgrade from 14.x or any other version to probably LTS or
Yeah.
anything above 20.19.0 also works.
Yeah, I'm basically having 24 node, and NVM NPM is 11. So I think
Perfect.
we are good with that, right?
Yeah. And Sai, if let's say if I am in Appium 2,
Mm-hmm.
is there anything that I should look at apart from node version and the NPM version in terms of your machine? It is already compliant, which is 20.19,
Yeah.
which is greater than, which is fine. Let's
Yeah.
say I'm in 2.0.
Mhm.
Can I just do NPM upgrade, or I should uninstall Appium or install? What is the
Yeah.
best way to?
Yeah. So the first thing you need to do is when you're moving from 2 to 3, so you basically say, you install your Appium 3 version, so you can, basically give the version. And I've already installed that now. Okay.
Perfect.
And the next thing you need to do
I
is
also, when we say Appium 2, I would also have my drivers and plugins which belongs to Appium 2.
Yeah.
Should I also uninstall and reinstall Appium drivers and plugins?
Yes, we need to do that. The reason being is because there is definitely a compatibility between these. So if you have your old driver versions like UI Automator 2, 𝐸𝐤𝐸𝐷, whatnot, which only can run on Appium 2, so you need to basically uninstall that. So we have one command which can basically uninstall that for us, which is Appium setup reset. It will basically go ahead and uninstall everything that we basically have over here. And now if I say Appium driver list, so it will show me the list of drivers that I have over here.
Perfect.
And if I say Appium plugin list, so it is basically going to show me all the plugins that basically are available officially from Appium. And if you see, there is one thing which is very new in this case is the Appium inspector is also a part of the plugin now. It's no more just a DMG or an EXE that people would want to use. So it's also a part of the a plugin as an inspector. So probably what I can do now is we can go ahead and install one driver and one plugin because it's useful for us, right?
Yep.
So I can say Appium driver install UI Automator 2. So let us go ahead and install UI Automator 2 to automate Android applications. So meanwhile, is there something you want to pick from the Q&A, or if there's anything in, and probably can mark it answer.
Yeah.
I can probably bring it over here. Anything you want to pick?
Quite
Okay.
a few on AML, so I'm trying to pick something which is.
So we will possibly leave that later then.
Yeah.
So
there is one. Is Appium 3 more dev friendly or QA friendly or both?
Okay.
So that's from Pavan Kumar.
Mhm.
So dev friendly for Srini is different. QA friendly for Srini is different than compared to Pavan and Srini. So if you have anything specific that you feel is not dev friendly or it's not friendly for the community, so do share your feedback. We are happy to listen to it and update and help community to use it. There are quite a few problem statements that we have solved it to make it more easier.
Yeah. So if you see here, that this is basically installed now. That's the UI Automator 2. It's basically installed now. So let's go ahead and install one plugin, okay, which is Appium plugin install inspector.
Yeah, this is one of the pain that is basically the experience wasn't that good in terms of getting more approvals. I already have got an approval to install Appium 3. Why should I be getting another approval from my security team to get something which is not through the official channels of Apple, which is App Store, right? So I think this is something that we heard about from the community, and we have currently going to use plugins, and again, which is also from an official source, which is npm. So anybody who wants to install Appium inspector can do it through plugins now, rather than getting an approval. If you are constrained, quite a lot of people might work in a constrained environment, so for them I think it is easy to get an approval together for Appium plugin as well, in case if they still wanted to, right, for certain plugins. And again, this is an officially released plugin from the Appium itself, so not from the community.
Yeah. So since we installed the plugin, so I'm trying to enable a plugin for us now, which is inspector. So I'm basically starting the Appium server just like how we used to start in any of the versions. So it's Appium server, and I give a base path to it, and I'm basically saying use plugins, and I'm giving the name of the plugin. That's pretty much I'm trying to do over here. So once I do this and I hit enter, okay, so something is breaking.
So again, we are in Appium 3, which was released just 2 days back. So not even 2 full days back. It was day before yesterday night. Yeah, I think Jonathan has hit the button. So there are quite a lot of chances things may go wrong. So do share your feedback. We are happy to fix things and make it up and running.
Okay, Okay, one way to
Part
debug
2
and
regex
see.
error, missing parameter name.
Yeah. So Srini, can I don't know if it's Appium.
Do
Generally,
you want to start it without the plugin and see if
yeah, makes
everything
sense.
is working?
Yeah, makes sense. So at
Is
least
it
we
coming
can.
from plugin?
Yeah, I think then that way we can narrow it down, right?
Okay, perfect.
So
Everything is
server
well and
starts.
good. Server starts.
So wait, if we do with the plugin, it's failing. Interesting.
Okay, let's see how we could fix it.
Okay, what does
So
it
it's
say?
coming from
Missing error.
missing parameter name at
Something.
12.
It's possible that your driver or a plugin try to update, and it says requiring the driver. So it's coming from here, Srini.
UI automated to driver. Let's go ahead.
No. It loaded. No, it loaded successfully
fine. So
here.
it is coming from the inspector.
Is it so?
Missing parameter name at 12, and maybe
Can you see inspector
path
any?
to regex.
Can you see inspector anywhere if it's failing in inspector? Because when we load the plugin only, it's not coming. Oh,
Yeah,
here, right?
index.mjs.
Let me pick this. Okay, let's open and see what is there over here. Let's make it full screen. Make it big. Don't worry, this is not a part of our workshop.
It's turning out to be a
It's not working.
contributor workshop.
Yeah, it's not working. So we're just seeing where what's going wrong, so that we could fix it and
So
keep
it
going
said
forward.
path to regex. It's something to do with regex. Let's go
Yeah,
ahead.
line number 42 it
42.
says. So that
Yeah.
is this guy. So maybe something to do with this.
Yep.
You know what I'm going to do, Srini? I'm just going to give this to
Okay, let's give it to Claude.
Claude or Klein or someone who can. Scroll. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I can basically give it to it and ask it to fix it for us. I think it's mostly on this regex part is what I'm basically guessing. So let's see if it can fix it for us, and then we can go ahead. Probably it's a pull request.
And meanwhile, if you are trying to install Appium 3 and if you have any issues, so do drop your questions, do drop your issues in case if you are facing anything. So we are happy to take it up. And in case if you are in need of the command to install, it is okay. Let me share it quickly.
What's happening? Just thinking too much.
I'm also dropping the command to install Appium 3. And Sai also used another command to reset some of the drivers we have. So it is Appium setup reset. So basically, Appium setup reset will remove all the drivers and plugins installed when you are using drivers and plugins from 2.0. I think it's a loop mode.
Yeah, I think I'll just go to possibly Cursor and ask Cursor to fix it. Let's see if it can fix it. Okay, Cursor is doing something.
I believe it's the line break. Yeah, it's fixing. Let's see.
What did it do?
Path lost.
Not too sure if it can fix that. Let's see. No. Don't do that. Why you want to?
The issue is only on 42.
Yeah, but why is it fixing above?
Open inspector is being used. That's okay. Let's try it.
Okay. Okay.
Except the pattern.
Yeah, probably it's fixing the regex itself. Would work. It's okay. It says it could work. So let's go ahead and try. No, it is still the same.
It's uninstall and.
Did you see very interesting thing? Here it says the missing parameter name is 12. Now it says the missing parameter is 11. So we could possibly say still the error exists. So let's see what it can fix it for us. Probably we'll raise this an issue to the Appium team.
If you would like to raise your first PR, feel free to.
I don't think it's a file path as well, right?
It is the
I know
escape.
I know when you're trying something, you can basically tell me. You can try to undo it.
So it's basically the path issue. So express app dot all. Yeah, the
It's
express app.
this is it.
Instead of use, we can use all, and yeah,
Just please. Okay, let it finish.
you can just add this.
It's basically removed. Okay, I think
That's the-
Srini's already got.
we can just undo everything and then
Okay.
but it's still using the new code. Maybe let's uninstall and install again so that we know the solution now.
I'm not saving it. Okay, so what is that? I think you have something found, right? So what is that you found basically?
Yeah, just escape it.
I think it is still using the.
It's using the old code.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Okay.
the new code.
Okay, we'll
which
fix
is
that also.
updated.
Okay.
So maybe we can uninstall the plugin and then try to
Then
reinstall so
reinstall
we
is
get
it?
the
Okay.
new
Okay. Okay. We can do that
so
also.
it's easier.
So Appium plugin.
Uninstall inspector.
I mean, that's a way to uninstall any installed plugins. And similar way you can do for the driver also. You could say Appium driver uninstall the driver name. Okay, let's reinstall this.
Okay. Then let's,
Okay.
okay. Here instead of just a second.
Okay, you're basically trying to. I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
Great.
without the
Yeah.
dot slash.
It's just the regex path, is it?
Yes. Most slash here, and that's it. And instead of array, we can remove all the things.
You don't need
Just
this,
one
right?
now. We don't need a perfect. I think we are
Good. Start it. There you go.
perfect. So if anyone would like to raise their first pull request,
Maybe
feel free to.
this is what we need to change to Appium.
Yeah.
Okay, since we got this fixed, so we have this running. So what we can do is, since Appium is running in 4723 port number, like you see here, so let's go to our browser and then let's say localhost 4723 inspector. Okay, you see the inspector is basically loaded in the browser for us now, which was not the case previously in Appium 2. So Appium 3 brings this flexibility for you. Okay, since we already have the server running, I think I also have a device booted in my machine, right? So what we could basically do is sorry, pretty big. Okay, so. Mhm. So what we could basically do is let's start an Appium session, and then we could see if your device is able to be inspectable over the browser. Okay. So we leave it because it's the say very basic capabilities. So and I'll just click on start session. So all that I'm expecting right now is I should have my device present and I'll be able to inspect on it, right? So maybe I can also possibly do a tab, and if you see, it would have reflected on my device. So it's fantastic. Okay. So we will not go and talk about a lot of our inspectors. There are a lot of documents, and it's pretty straightforward and simple, right? So I'm going to close this. So because we got it basically working, right? So Appium server is actually running. So we have seen installation of Appium server, how you can move from 2 to 3, and basically, and also we bumped into something which we really didn't expect it could happen, but we eventually fixed it from because of the possibly it's because more of the node versions and some compatibility stuff. So we'll get that fixed for good. And we started the server. We saw the inspector loading in the screen as well, and of course we understood what's Appium's architecture and things, right? And let's go in and see what's next for us in place.
Perfect. So as I was talking about some change in the feature flags, basically the server flags. So not the desired capabilities or the driver options that we are talking about. It is basically the server flags. There are quite a lot of server flags that Appium has. So in case if you don't know, probably we'll share you the link where we have all of these Appium flags documented.
Yeah.
So I remember using this relaxed security flag quite often to execute ADB commands in my browser. I mean, in my Android devices that is connected to. So by default, Appium has a feature that it doesn't allow anybody to execute shell commands on Android devices due to security concerns. So it does make sure that you are aware of that and you enable this features through a flag called the relaxed security flag, which is a server flag. You have to use this while you are starting the Appium server. And you can also do, I mean, the old way of doing this is hyphen relaxed hyphen security. Similarly, we have something called allow insecure, somewhat quite related. So wherein you could enable only as part of the feature through allow insecure. So which is unsecured capabilities that's, Appium has certain features that are unsecure, but we are, if you are okay to execute, we are happy to execute, or Appium server is Appium to execute it. So now we have to use allow insecure. Plus, we also need to say which driver has this implementation. So are we going to use this for Android or iOS? Depending upon that, which specific driver? Here it is UI automated to driver. Okay, now we know that this belongs to UI automated to driver. And if I have to execute, I mean, certain things across all the drivers, for example, then we can use star, a wildcard symbol that is also allowed. And then the actual command, which is adb_shell, is something that is good. I mean, only enables this particular feature for Appium 3 users to use this if they wanted to run a shell command on the connected Android devices. So there is a convention change here. So, but the behavior, there is no change in terms of behavior. It is only used only once, probably when you are starting your Appium server. Unless you start it programmatically, there is a way to feed this information when you are starting the same programmatically. Let's say Appium Java client has another way to start your Appium server programmatically. So you can feed in these arguments, server arguments through programmatical way as well. Yeah,
nice.
Cool. We just saw that Appium inspector as plugin. Perfect. So we have also gone through these commands. Maybe I will also share this command over Slack, so it will give you a picture about what are the commands that we need to. Maybe I will take a moment and share these commands right away, so that anybody who wants to use it can definitely use it.
And now you don't need them. You say only Appium plugin install inspector. That's pretty much.
So this is the command, and of course there will be this PPT and migration guide and everything will be shared.
Yeah.
Command to start your Appium server with plugin inspector enabled.
Yes.
Okay, so these are the commands that should help you folks in terms of using Appium inspector through Appium server on the web.
Yeah.
Yep. Now moving to the migration concerns, here's where the pain comes in for anybody. I am sure you would have all gone through Appium 1 to Appium 2 migration. That's one of the reasons why Appium 2 was in beta for 40 plus versions for almost 2+ years. And there was a lot of changes for vendors as well to I mean, there was a lot of bandwidth given to vendors as well to use Appium 2. And in terms of Appium 3, it's all going to be pretty smooth. There is no change in terms of architecture. But what is the migration that we need to be concerned about, right? And is it going to be something that I need to be worried about? Maybe let's go ahead and deep dive on it.
Sure.
Yep, there are quite a few commands that we have, and we have only few listed here. And don't worry about it in case if you are using any of this, we will go in depth about some of these commands, right? There are quite a few commands. Let's say what we are talking about is an endpoint, which you may not be seeing it when you are using Appium client. But behind the scenes, any Appium client uses these particular commands, I mean the endpoints. Again, in the REST API world, all of these interactions are through going to be an endpoint. So if you are, I mean, if the command that you are using behind the scenes uses /sessions, it's removed, and it was in deprecated state for almost years, quite a lot of years, and it is replaced by /apm sessions. Anything as a user that I need to be worried about? Definitely no, because the command that you might be using for this particular command has never changed on Appium client if Appium client uses it. I believe it was only inspector using this
yeah.
command, so you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Accept alert, I'm sure quite a lot of people have used it. Let's say I'm a user of Appium and I was using Python client or Java client of Appium. There are quite a few places where we would have exposed accept alert as a method from driver to accept any alert, and it could be specific to the drivers that you are using, not specific to all the drivers. Some drivers may not even have accept alert. So let's say I used accept alert, and this is the endpoint that was used behind the scenes. And if I am using Java client, should I change the method? Definitely not.
Yeah, makes sense.
Because behind the scenes, Appium Java client uses fallback mechanisms to handle these kind of things internally. So when I don't need to worry about, then why do I need to be aware of this? Yes, you need to be aware of this, because there are certain, let's say you are using not the official bindings of Appium. You might be using something, I mean, not the official clients of Appium. Let's say you are using Java client, don't need to be worried about much. That could be one or two commands, but not nothing that you need to be worried about in terms of commands or the methods that you are using from Java client. There's no change in, I mean, required. Quite a lot of commands are already deprecated. We will remove it and use it. And we have fallback mechanisms ensured in all these official channels. And let's say we are using WebDriver.io. Let's say you are using a particular command, for example, open notification. I believe WebDriver.io has stop recording, start recording, open notifications. WebDriver.io as a client has exposed it. I am sure Christine and also Harsha is here. He's gonna take a look at it and release the compatible version of Appium 3 pretty soon. So you don't need to be worried about, but still it is important to be aware of it, because it will break. If you are using WebDriver.io, open notifications, start recording,
A bunch
stop
of commands,
recording, bunch of
basically. A
commands.
bunch of
You can
commands.
show that a bunch of commands, and I will also drop a note, link of that commands that are deprecated. You can take a look at it. If any of this is there, then there is an alternative commands provided by Appium itself.
Yeah.
So maybe can we see one command?
Yeah, sure.
Before moving to gestures,
Then I'll probably go
I
ahead.
just need to swipe. Yeah. Okay. So meanwhile, I will leave this migration guide
Yeah.
that we came up.
There's a
the
bunch of things, bunch of commands that is moved. Eventually, you don't have to worry about these. These are taken care under the hood, but it's more for, like Srini said, right? If a stop recording has been moved to mobile colon stop XCUIT test recording for
on an
iOS.
official client like Java client, it is already we use something called a fallback in case, let's say, that you are using some specific driver version that doesn't have stop recording, right? So we have a fallback mechanism.
Yeah.
Let's say if it doesn't have a mobile colon stop XC test screen recording, then we have a fallback wherein it uses the old.
Yeah.
But it is important for us to use these commands, and WebDriver.io will also be releasing a new version addressing these endpoint changes.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So should we go ahead and start off with executing our demo project to see if everything is set in, and then we can jump into gestures and understand what these gestures are. Yeah, I mean, before we jump into the gestures part, Srini's already shared that code. This is basically a very simple demo project that we have. He's also shared that, we have a very simple sample test out here for us. And basically, what it does is, I'll very quickly run you through over here. This is basically creating an Android session for us, and 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 then it basically just clicks on some element, right? And very simple. It just quits it. So there's nothing much that it basically does.
Yeah,
right?
again, this code has nothing to do with Appium 2 or Appium
Appium
3.
3.
It should work irrespective of version that you got.
Yeah. So mostly the Appium 3 is more of your dependencies, your infrastructure and changes. But from a test code perspective, like Srini said, officially, if there's something on certain commands like what you saw, that is taken care. But for third party bindings or third party bindings, they will eventually need to move. Right. And we'll also show some one or two examples that we already have in place. So before that, let's run this quickly to see if the sample project is up and running for us in our simulators, right? So I'll just quickly, because since the server's already running, no, the server's already not running. So let me go quickly start the server. The server runs, and the emulator is already up and running for us over here, right? So which is good. So I'll quickly go ahead and run this one test, okay? And basically this test, all that does is it just tries to open the app, just clicks on it and just close it. So that's just to test that our sample demo application that we have is basically working fine for us. Did it do something? Let's see this.
Maybe we didn't see. Okay.
Yeah, it's already done, but we just didn't see it.
So it has created a session, launched
Yeah.
the application,
It basically
and
clicked
also
it.
clicked
It also
on
deleted
the
it.
log.
Yeah, and also did a delete
Deleted the
session, right?
session.
So at least it has successfully ran. We see it working for us. So what we can do next is, I think we don't. Okay, this is closed. We don't need this, right? Okay. So the next thing is, before we go ahead and bring. See, did we see this? One second. Was it so quick that we saw and it just ran off? I'll just keep this side by side.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it just did that. Okay, so our code's fine. Okay, there's nothing fancy about the code looks all good. Okay, so the next important thing before we get started, I'm again going to look into the chat over here. How many of you basically use gestures and still are on touch actions? Anyone, you can basically say yes, no, and what, and we get to know what do you use today. Not in the Q&A, you can put in the chat so we could see there.
Awesome.
So I see there is no, you don't use. So we see one.
Yes.
Pradeep says yes.
Okay.
So two of you have said no. So what do you do if you're not using touch actions?
There are few yes as well.
There are a few yeses also flowing in for people who are using touch actions, and I also see a few people have told, two of them have told no as well. So basically, if it's a no, of course you're not using touch, but probably using something else more like a driver dot, maybe mobile colon commands, or possibly even an actions API, right? So the recommended way to basically use or perform any gestures is use W3C actions, and these W3C actions are basically coming from Selenium WebDriver. So these are basically the APIs that are coming from uh, from the WebDriver world, basically the W3C specs, right? So if you're using touch actions, please just go away because they were deprecated and we will eventually remove it. It's been deprecated for roughly more than a year or so, more than two. So it's close to 2 years it's been deprecated. So I think there's enough window given to the community to say that you got to get rid of that and move into Actions API. So if you have not yet moved into Actions API, please feel free to move into Actions API, and we will take you through to understand what these Action API does over here. And so we'll talk about what is source, what is pointer down, element, pause, and etc. etc. Taking one example, right, Srini?
Yeah, and if you are thinking anything changed from the Actions API from Appium 2 to Appium 3, there is no changes. But it is important to also understand that the touch actions being removed completely.
Yeah.
So it was removed on Appium UI automated to driver version 3.x, and we are in 5.x.
Yeah.
So 3.x will definitely not work in Appium 3. So which means all your touch actions is not going to work if you are using Appium 3. and eventually everyone has to move to Appium 3 down the line. So it is important to, that's also the reason why it is important to understand how Actions API works, right? So let's say it's a typical screen where we do horizontal swipe here. I have an element which is a slider, and on any mobile device, the topmost corner of the mobile device is 0, 0, which is the left top corner where Sai is highlighting.
I'll highlight now. Yeah, which is, oops.
Yeah, that's left topmost corner, which is 0, 0. And left to right is x-axis and top to bottom is y-axis. Right. So that's x and y-axis. And let's say when you do get location, I mean, when you find a location, find an element using accessibility ID slider. And when you do get location, it eventually returns x1, y1, which is the left top corner of your element. In this case, it is x1, y1, which is slightly above that center point of that slider, slider wheeler, basically. So that's x1, y1. Yeah, the element is pretty simple. Just for emphasizing to make you all understand, we have put the box, the rectangular box of the element is little bigger. That's it, right? So when you get the element location, you got top left corner of the element, not the left corner of the device. Top left corner of the element is x1, y1, not the 0, 0, right? So if I have to move from left to right, the x will change, y will remain constant. So that's why the x1 has become x2 and y1 remains constant when I move from to left to right. If I'm moving from top to bottom, let's say I have a scroll view and I have to move elements from top to bottom. So if you're moving from top to bottom, in that case, x can remain constant and y will change, right? Either it will decrease or increase whether you are moving in the direction, depending upon the direction, right? So when we have to do this, typically what's, let's say if I have to do this through Actions API, if I have to do this through touch actions, you might have pressed move to something. It's been a long time.
Move to
actions.
move to
Press
elements,
move to element,
pause and
something of
then
that sort.
release or something.
And all of those is not going to work if you are using Android driver version, UI automated to driver version greater than 3, because that's when we have removed everything, and we are in 5.x. So if I have to do a gesture in Actions API, it is pretty simple. The way how you do it manually on your real device, the same way how is going to do in automation as well through Appium. So I will just move my finger first. I will just move my finger onto the device to a particular location, so which is called pointer move. And then I will click, basically I will tap on that specific location. That is nothing but pointer down. And then I will probably pass for a couple of seconds and move to a different location. So I will use pointer move to x2, y1, and then I will lift my finger up. So that's nothing but pointer up. So these are the 5 commands that we are going to use. The same way how if you wanted to ever do it, imagine that you are moving the finger to a particular location and then tapping on that location, waiting for something, probably again how you wanted to do it. You can wait, you don't wait as well. And I wanted to move to a different location, which is pointer move again, and lift my finger up. So this is exactly how you do it in a typical mobile device. So the same way how Appium is also going to use it. So these are the 5 commands to perform any gesture. I mean, in terms of scrolling from left to right, basically, moving from left to right. And play around with this. You can do anything. You can even probably write any complex gesture. Let's say I wanted to sign on a mobile app. You can do, you can write all these complex gesture by moving to different pointer moves, right? So this is how it is going to work. But I am sure there are quite a lot of other ways to do it. But this is the best way to do any kind of gesture. Touch actions might work on probably lesser driver version, but definitely not going to work on 3.0, because you have to use the latest UI automated to driver, which is 5.x, right? So let's see it in action, how easy I can do this through MCP.
Yeah, and yes, let's see that in action. Okay, So do you also want to put the MCP link in the group
Yes,
so that
going
people
to do
can take that up? So before that, I'll also ask this another question in the group. Do you want us to write a traditional way of code over here, or possibly take help from one of these MCP servers and just generate this entire code for us? So do we want to do it traditionally, write it? We can do that, or possibly you want to, explore an MCP server which can just do this for us.
CP. Okay. So reduces some work for us as well. Sure.
Anyone else? So we got two MCPs. Okay, we got three. So keep it flowing. So it just depends, because I really like to possibly write traditional. So
Okay, so it's going to be MCP. Let's try adding the same
okay,
MCP gesture.
okay.
And,
So have you also shared?
it's I shared the link.
Okay, so try out MCP. So everyone wants to see, the MCP, which can basically do, right? So Srini's already shared the MCP link in the chat. So go ahead and take a look. It's of course open sourced. And I have already copied that MCP. How do I-
Might be.
So I've already added that into client. Right? So I've go to settings. I've already. I'll just make this a bit big. Okay. So I've already added the Appium gesture over here. So that's the MCP server, and it's already there for me now. Okay. And if you ask me how did I add this and stuff, very simple. Click on this configure MCP server, and you could see that we have already added this one. So it's already there for us now here. And I mean, this is basically the link what Srini is already shared with you. Okay.
Yep, we have this in our README as well.
README as well, right? Okay. So what is that we want to do is basically, once you open this testing app and then you click on login and go to vertical swiping, so you have basically a vertical swipe here, right? So what I basically want to do is, so basically we can do two types of swipe. Either you, sorry, yeah, scroll. So what you can do is either you can scroll it inside a specific element, so you give it the element, or you can also scroll it based on the entire device screen. So there's no element, but literally how today when we use our applications, we just go pick and we just scroll, your Insta or whatever applications, right, up and down. So we could typically do it without any locator, and then we could go ahead and see this.
And if there is multiple scrollable views, probably it's better to provide that scrollable view that you wanted to scroll.
Absolutely. So you know what I'm going to do for ease here, right? Because there are multiple clicks, so we are not focused on finding element and clicking and things like that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave this application in this page, right? And I'm basically not going to have my app set. So what this means is Appium can also start a Appium session even without you giving an application, right? So I'm not giving any application. I just wanted to just start it up and then just run our tests. But it's anyways going to kickstart the driver for us, right? So what I'm going to do is since the Appium, since the MCP is already up, so I'll go back to client and say, we are generating code, right?
Yeah.
So create
Appium session.
Create an Appium scroll up or swipe. What do you want to call it? Scroll up. Okay. Scroll up code. That's
For this Android platform device, the connected Android device.
Yeah, I mean it's okay. I think we just creating code. We are not trying to execute it, right? It's okay. So we'll see. So we're saying create an Appium scroll up code, right? So if you see here, right? Okay, let me.
Out that it wants
it's visible, right? So it says generate scroll code, and then it also says, oh, the language is Java and the direction is up, because we said like scroll it up, right? So let me approve that. It seems legit. So okay, it already got something up for me. Let's see what it is it trying to do. Okay, so it is also saying that the scroll up code has been generated. Now I'll add this to the code. Okay, it's going and adding it also for me under the sample test. So let's see what it is basically adding. Is it adding a code that can execute, or is it just bringing up some template code for me? Okay.
I think it is unlocked.
I don't know why is this behaving a little weird to me today. Either way, so I'll go back to.
Maybe let's create a session and do one by. See.
No, I think it's that model. Something
Okay,
is being
let's
a little
do it
wonky.
first.
Yeah, we'll do it through cursor if I'm not wrong. Or probably I can change the model and see. Huh? Oh, no. Yeah, we have it.
No, the key you have given is Gemini. So
No. I think I have all of them.
okay.
I think so. Let's try.
Provided is
Yeah, I already provided that. So let's see.
okay.
Yeah, okay, it started to do something. So let's see what is it even trying to do.
So since we have not specified whether it has to be a scroll view or so, it is taking by default. It understood that it is for the whole device.
Yeah. So we'll run through the code what it is trying to do. Okay, it's okay. Okay, it has generated some code.
We
Okay.
can minimize the.
Yeah, I'll just move this off. So we'll see what kind of code it is written, right? Okay, it has written. I mean, I don't like this import here. So we will possibly fix it up here. So
So
okay,
get
do we want to
size eventually
we'll
gives.
try to run them through the code, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, go ahead, Srini. We'll start from here.
Yeah, get size eventually gives the width and height of the device. It eventually varies for different devices, so it is not hard coding anything in terms of the width and height. It is smartly saying that width and height comes from the size of.
So what basically it picked this for us, right? It
That's
basically
the height
picked
and
this is the width. So
yeah.
it just picked this. That's what it's.
And then we are. It
connecting
is
to.
also trying to find the center of the screen.
Where is that? That's here.
No, that's on the point center.
This guy.
Yes.
Okay.
So it is trying to find the center of the screen, and from there.
So that is here.
Yeah, somewhere there.
So this is going to be this guy.
Yes.
Okay.
And then you can see that for scrolling up, the calculation is follows. So when I have to scroll up, I have to, let's say I've started from center, so I have to move up. So I have to move my finger up from here to there.
So which is from center.
From center,
this is basically going this way. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So which means we are starting on the center, which is very clear. That's why it is from X and from Y is centered at X and centered at Y.
Okay.
And 2X and 2Y, again, as I already said, left to right is X-axis in this device and top to bottom is Y-axis in this device.
Okay.
So when you are moving on a direction of top, up or down, so it is eventually the Y-axis will change, not the X. So that's why the center.x remains there on 2.x, because we are moving in. Let's say we are doing it in the straight line. We are not moving from the center to the right top corner of the device. So we are moving in the center, same direction, no change in the width. So center.x, the line number 30 remains there, right? And let's say I wanted to move from center to top. What we are eventually doing here is, we know that the height of the device, when I do height by 2, which is the center, which comes to the center. So I am doing 10% of the height. So I am starting from the center and reducing my height to 10% of the total height. So that's why height into 0.10, which is height into 10 by 100, that's why. So we are starting from X from Y, 2X to Y, and then we are doing all of those complex sequences. So I have to move my finger, then maybe yes, line number 39. So I have to move I'm creating a sequence object. I am moving to pointer move on from X and from Y. We remove everything.
We'll do this.
Yes.
Okay. Now we could.
So it is line number 39. You could see there is pointer move to X and Y. Pointer move to X and Y within this viewport. And that's the starting place. So when I say pointer move, I moved there, but I have not pressed it down. So that's why we have pointer down next. And I have pressed it down. Now it's my responsibility. Probably, let's say I want to wait for 500 milliseconds. So I have a pass. You can do it without pass as well eventually. But let's say I wanted to move to a different location, which is my target, which is 2X and 2Y. So I'm moving to different X and Y, which is 2X, 2Y, which we have computed on the top. And then I have to lift my finger. Otherwise, it's not going to be useless. It's useful. So we have to move my finger up or lift my finger up, which is eventually create pointer up. And then I have computed the sequence. Now somewhere I have to execute it. I have to give it to driver to execute it. That's where perform method comes from, the Appium driver, which is perform takes this collection. So the collection of singleton list again, you can do arrays as list, whatever.
Okay.
Right. So we are executing the sequence. Let's try to run this and see if everything is fine. And while creating the driver, we also need to start with the capabilities. So let's copy the code here and then
Which
run it.
capability are you talking about?
The options. The basically Appium scroll up example.java doesn't come up with the options. You automated 2 options, so it is we can copy from here, paste it here, or you can just call this method.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah. Okay.
I call this.
Perfect.
Should be okay.
Scroll
Right?
up. Yep.
That goes
And
here.
let's execute.
And possibly I'll just put a debug point so that we know that it is executing, right? So we could see it executing.
Yes.
So I'll just put a debug point here, and I'm going to debug this test. So let's look at the device. So when that, oh, there you go. Oh, it did its problem. You didn't see that. Okay, I'll run it again, okay, so that people could like see it scrolling up. That is it on. Oh, okay. So what did I do? Cannot involve boolean. Blah blah blah. Is it because, okay, probably my server could have gone wrong. Let's see. Entered and primary motion, action, move, whatnot. Unknown error. So it performed.
Parallelly did some.
Yeah, I think.
Your fingers.
Yeah. I think it was me who basically did something. Okay. You see that it scrolled up and it basically did that stuff for us. Right? And similar way, I mean, see, basically the MCP server, it just wrote that entire code for us. And if you want to scroll it inside an element, you just tell it. And there are multiple ways that you could basically tell it to do. So if you go inside that MCP repository or the tools, you'll basically understand what all it can, do for us over here. It can do a long press, double tap, scroll code, swipe code, directions. There are a bunch of things it can basically sort of do over here. Okay, so let's go in here. Just doing a quick time check, Srini. So we have 15 more minutes, right? I mean, that's basically the code. So of course, whatever we did now, we will also push this into that same repository that you have, and you can also try this at by yourself. And of course, if you get bumped into any of these stuffs even after this, please reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to help you out over there. And this is what we were talking about, some of the examples that might be working today for you with WebDriver IO, and what kind of updates that needs to be done, right? So if you look through this, currently, if you have a function which says driver.set clipboard for you, and under the hood, probably this will not work if they are still not migrated into mobile:set clipboard. But you can basically unblock yourself as well if you are using WebDriver IO code base by simply calling driver.execute with the mobile:set clipboard. And so you're basically sending things directly to the Appium server through the execute command. There are a bunch of commands, similar to this that we see, like start recording. This is what Srini was talking about. So start recording screen will not work for you. So you basically need to say mobile:start media projection recording and start 𝐸𝐴𝐻 screen recording. So 𝐸𝐴𝐻 is more focused on an iOS, and start media projection recording is more for Android. And all of these
now that we know that for WebDriver IO we have to change,
Yeah.
and why should I not change for Java client?
No, the reason. Okay.
Do you want to show?
Yeah,
what
yeah.
We have done so far under the
Maybe.
hood?
Okay, so Shini's question is, hey, if it's WebDriver IO, we need to change, but
Because
why?
I know Java client also has start recording
Yeah.
screen or something of that sort, like clipboard or open notifications,
Uh-huh.
for example, which all comes under this migration.
Okay. So, okay, let's go see
And
that.
keep your questions coming. We are happy to answer everything.
Where's that? Okay. So basically, then I need to go into Java client Appium GitHub, right?
Yep. And meanwhile, I will take up another question. How does Appium 3 handles state isolation between concurrent sessions? Okay, nothing has been done in terms of state isolations between concurrent sessions, and reason is why it has been done long back. If you are using Appium 1.18.0, from then you don't need to create multiple server instances. You can, I mean, one Appium server instance is smart enough to handle n number of driver sessions parallel. And in case if you are not aware of how it has been doing, maybe feel free to check. And Appium 2, again, there are quite a lot of improvements in terms of state handling. So Appium 3 doesn't do anything much in terms of concurrent sessions. How you create a concurrent session is up to the client. And what do you use? Probably you can use TestNG to create parallel sessions, and how you manage it at the client side is again well within the client and the user who uses it and how they use it. But Appium 3 as a server or Appium 2 as a server smartly handles n number of driver sessions. One server instance can handle n number of driver sessions. Yeah, sure.
So I just took one example here, Srini, which said open notifications. So if you see in Java client, whenever a driver.open notification command is being called, we first come internally say it's a mobile colon open notifications. So that means we are already moved into mobile colon notifications, and
So instead of user changing
yeah,
user using mobile colon open notifications through driver.execute script,
we have done
we
it.
use it internally.
Yeah.
So we do it for them
Yes.
behind the scenes.
Yes. And then if you see here, it's it's internally calling the execute script as well, which we basically, that's exactly what we saw, right? And let's say now you are not on that specific version of your Appium. Let's say you're on 2 and things like that. So we also have a fallback over here, which would basically go ahead.
Let's say the particular version of driver doesn't have this mobile colon open notification.
It'll go back to the
yes. Back to the old.
Yes, but these are deprecated, like you see, which is very clearly deprecated, right? So that means eventually it will be removed.
Yes.
So there you will have some window of time to migrate your.
So it is. Eventually we all have to use mobile colon ourselves.
Yeah.
Instead of we doing it, currently Appium
Java client will take care.
internally does it.
Yes.
So eventually we have to move out of this command because we have to use mobile colon methods.
Absolutely, yeah. So that clearly shows how internally the official bindings are taking care and making
So which
things
also
easier.
means that it uses the appropriate endpoints under the code that is listed in the migration document.
You're right. Yeah, absolutely.
So in case if you have any doubts on any of the commands that you are using, feel free to refer to that migration doc. It will give you a better picture in terms of do I need to change anything in future.
Yeah. Cool. And I mean, we have a bunch of examples on a similar way, and I think we pretty much saw all of these. And I think Srini's been actively sharing all the reference links and things. And I think we can also show another MCP before we end the session if people want to give that a try.
And maybe we do have a bunch of questions.
Okay.
Probably we'll handle a couple of questions and then.
Okay, then I'm okay. So I think that's pretty much what we wanted to share as a part of this entire session. But I see there's a bunch of questions like Srini says. We'll try to take that, and also we will share another MCP which we have built to make things easier in the Appium world. So which is called Jarvis Appium. So you could also take a look at this side by side when you guys are interested, basically. And this is also a pretty cool stuff. Maybe I'm excited to show one demo. If you can.
I'm sharing the link.
Okay, since Srini is basically sharing.
So it does have a good README, and again, it's super conversational. So if you have a client, root, or desktop, or for example, you have Cursor Pro, it should work.
Yeah, I think it's turned off, so I'll probably turn it on. I mean, again, it's open source, so you can go back and try it yourself.
You can refer to the link that I have shared.
Yes, you need to share the link. So I could simply say that, a login log into the application, and
Meanwhile, there is
and
also a
click
question as
on.
I was typing. Do we have something similar in Python as well? I believe that is going back to the usage of NCP Appium gestures for Java. So at least what I remember code that we have coded, it does supports Java and JavaScript. I think it shouldn't take much time to support Java, I mean Python as well. So, yep, in case it, quite a lot of us are interested to test it with Python code,
Yeah.
we can definitely support it.
Okay, let's see if it can do. If not, so try it. So it's basically starting a session for you with using Appium. So it's basically, you see that I only told that, log into the application and things like that. So it's able to even find possibly the strategy for us. And it's also generating the entire locators. Okay, you see that it basically clicked on it, it entered, so it's going into the password field. It can enter the password. It did that.
Maybe the login should fail. The password
Yeah, I don't remember what the login is actually, but we just wanted to show you, how what things it can do. You see, it also clicks on it, right? And it's trying to see for this vertical swiping. So I'll
Let me just move
probably,
it manually.
yeah. What's the password for this?
Let me.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And then we click on this. So it found it, and it should take it up as an approval to click on the next element as well. Did it perform the click? It said it clicked. Yeah, but you can and then you could say generate the test suite for the commands executed, right? This is basically going to on the fly generate, maybe the entire what do you call, your page objects, etc., etc. Okay, it started to do, right? Okay, I'm going to stop this. You can explore this more later on. Okay, but we thought we should possibly share that with you so that you could try this out on your own. So thank you so much for listening and sticking around with us.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, have a good
Have
one,
a great day.
folks.